As I sit at my desk, staring at the blinking cursor on my screen, I feel a mix of fear and determination. My name is Bennett, and I work in a small marketing agency. I am 28 years old and just moved to this big city for my job. I did not grow up here, but I always dreamed of living in a bustling place, full of energy and opportunities. My family lives in a quiet town miles away, and I miss them a lot. My parents have always supported me, even when I changed my mind about my career many times. They wanted me to be happy. My job is exciting, but it is also very stressful. I love being creative and coming up with new ideas for our clients. However, my boss is very demanding. She expects a lot from me, and sometimes it feels like I can't keep up. I have a big presentation coming up next week, and the pressure is really getting to me. I want to impress her and the clients, but I am afraid that I will fail. These thoughts make it hard to focus. In my free time, I enjoy painting and going for long walks in the park. Art helps me relax when I feel overwhelmed. It allows me to express my feelings and clear my mind. Sometimes, when I paint, I forget about my worries. I like to use bright colors to show my moods. But lately, I have had little time to paint because of work. The stress keeps piling on, and I feel like I am losing myself. At the office, I am friendly and try to get along with everyone. I want to build good relationships with my coworkers. However, I sometimes feel lonely. I have not made many close friends in the city yet. I miss sharing my thoughts with someone who understands me. Lately, I have noticed a few of my coworkers chatting and laughing together. I want to join them, but I feel shy. I keep thinking, what if they do not want me there? That thought holds me back. The other day, during a team meeting, I shared an idea I thought was great, but it received no response. I felt embarrassed and small. It was a reminder of my fear of failure. I want to be more confident and overcome that feeling. I remember what my dad told me. Every failure is a step to success. Yet, living the truth is much harder than saying it. I often wonder what it takes to be a successful person. I see others who are more confident in their work and life. They inspire me, but they also make me doubt myself. I want to learn from my mistakes and grow. I know I have a lot to offer, but the fear often stops me. I keep telling myself I must be brave. I want to learn new skills and show that I can meet my goals. As I sit here, watching the moments tick by, I realize I need to make a change. I don't want to be stuck in my worries anymore. This presentation is my chance to show what I can do, and it may open new doors for me. I must push through the fear and find my voice. The thought of what I can achieve if I succeed fills me with hope. Maybe, just maybe, this is the first step on a path to becoming the person I want to be. This is my journey. I may feel weak now, but I am ready to fight for my dreams. I am about to find out if I can turn my struggles into strength. As the days passed, I started to feel a change in the office. At first, I thought it was just stress about the presentation. I could feel the weight of it every day. But then, I noticed more. My coworker, Lisa, seemed to target me when I spoke. When I shared an idea in meetings, she would roll her eyes. Like the other day, when I suggested a new marketing strategy, she shot it down quickly. "That won't work," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. Everyone fell silent, and I felt my face turn red. I tried to defend myself, but my throat felt tight. After that meeting, I felt small. It was hard to forget her words. I began to dread going to work. I thought, what if Lisa says something mean again? I wanted to be stronger, but her attitude made me doubt my ideas. I knew her words affected me more than I wanted to admit. When I walked by her desk, I could feel her eyes on me. It felt like she was waiting for me to make a mistake. One afternoon, I needed help with a project. I gathered my courage and approached Lisa in the break room. "Can you help me with this presentation?" I asked, trying to sound calm. She looked up from her phone and shrugged. Why should I? You want to fail anyway. Her words stung. I wanted to shout back, but I felt my heartbeat race. I walked away instead, trying to swallow the hurt. I shared my feelings with my friend Mia, who worked with me. You need to stand up for yourself, she said, but it was hard to listen. You don't know how she is, I replied softly. She can be mean. Mia nodded but looked worried too. Just be strong, Bennett. You have great ideas. Don't let her bring you down. After that talk, I tried to feel confident, but the pressure grew. Each day, Lisa would find little ways to dismiss me. At a meeting, I presented an idea to the team. It was different from what we usually did and, in my heart, I really believed it would work. My boss, however, praised the idea, but then Lisa chimed in. Are you sure this is worth our time? I think we should stick to the old way. Her doubts changed the mood in the room. I panicked and stammered, trying to defend my plan, but the words didn't come out right. I ended up looking unsure, and my breath caught. As the pressure increased, I began to feel trapped. Self-doubt crept up again, whispering, maybe my ideas really are bad. I worried that standing up for myself might make things worse. Every time I tried to speak up, my hands would shake. The feeling was unbearable. I wanted to be the brave person Mia believed I could be, but Lisa's attitude was like a heavy blanket smothering my confidence. Then one morning, I overheard a few coworkers talking about Lisa. Have you noticed how she treats Bennett? One of them asked. That's not okay. Hearing them say this filled me with a strange warmth. Maybe I wasn't the only one feeling this way. When I thought of my friends in the office finding the courage to speak up, I realized that I could too. It was time to confront my fears and find my voice. I took a deep breath, ready to take a stand. I knew I could not let her win. I may not have all the answers, but I believed in myself. Maybe this time, I could rise above the tension and show everyone what I was truly capable of. The thought of standing up made me feel lighter, like I was ready to take control of my journey. The days turned into weeks, and I felt the weight of the office more than ever. The tension around me grew, and so did my fear. Lisa continued to undermine me, and her sharp remarks cut deeper each time. I often avoided eye contact with her, hoping she would just leave me alone. I realized that this constant battle was starting to affect me in many ways. My confidence felt small, like a tiny flicker of light in a dark room, barely hanging on. One afternoon, as I sat at my desk trying to finish a report, I felt a wave of exhaustion hit me. My email notifications buzzed constantly, reminding me of my looming deadlines. I had so much to do, but it was hard to concentrate. Every time I began typing, I imagined Lisa's disapproving looks. What will she think of this? I asked myself. Doubt invaded my mind, and I struggled to find the words. It was like running a race with heavy weights on my legs. As each day passed, I found it hard to get out of bed in the morning. I felt tired even before I started my workday. It's exhausting to be in a place that makes me second-guess myself. Each coffee break became a reminder of my isolation as I watched others chat and laugh together. I wanted to join them, but fear held me back. I thought, they won't want to talk to me. I felt scared and alone. One day, I overheard a conversation between my boss and Lisa. I am worried about Bennett, my boss said. They seem to be struggling. Hearing this made my heart race. Was I really struggling that much? I wanted to shout, I am trying my best! But the words didn't come out. Instead, they made me question my abilities even more. Maybe I really wasn't good enough for this role. The effects of the bullying were seeping into my thoughts and feelings. When I looked in the mirror, I barely recognized myself. I was no longer the confident person who had moved to the city with big dreams. I sneaked glances at my reflection and saw only doubt looking back. I remembered a time when I thought I could take on any challenge. Now, I felt like I was fading away. These moments of doubt made me wonder if quitting was a better choice. Was I strong enough to fight back? Or should I just stay silent and endure? Quitting felt like giving up, but fighting back seemed impossible when faced with Lisa's relentless comments. It was a painful dilemma. I longed for support and reassurance, but it seemed out of reach in such a hostile environment. One evening, I sat on my bed, my laptop open but untouched. I felt tired, not just physically, but emotionally. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. I thought of all the hard work that brought me here. I wanted to succeed, but at what cost? I missed feeling happy and confident, and that thought worried me more. In these quiet moments, I felt alone but maybe not defeated. I told myself, I can still change this. I thought of Mia's words, urging me to stand up. Perhaps I needed to talk to my boss about how things felt. Could I explain how Lisa's remarks affected my work? With a mixture of fear and hope, I decided to speak up. I realized that accepting the situation would not help me grow. Perhaps it was time to take a step forward. No matter how difficult, finding my voice was the first step to regaining control. I wanted to believe that I could overcome these obstacles and become the person I knew I could be. The road ahead would not be easy, but I needed to try. The day of the big presentation finally arrived. I had spent countless hours preparing, and I thought I was ready. My heart raced as I walked into the meeting room. My boss and the team were already seated, waiting for me to present my ideas. I felt a whirlwind of emotions, excitement mixed with anxiety. Would my hard work pay off? As I began to speak, I glanced over at Lisa. Her expression was cold and calculating. I pushed her judgment aside and focused on sharing my ideas. I spoke clearly and passionately about my proposal. I could see the spark of interest in my boss's eyes, which filled me with hope. But just as I thought things were going well, Lisa interrupted sharply. "This is too risky," she said loudly. "We can't waste our time on silly ideas." My heart sank. Her words felt like a punch to my stomach. In an instant, I could see the doubt returning to my boss's face. I tried to defend my ideas, but my voice trembled. I felt weak as my confidence began to unravel. "I believe this could really work," I said, but my words came out softer than I intended. Lisa flashed a smirk, and I noticed more people nodding, influenced by her words. I could feel the tension in the room, and it wrapped around me like a thick fog. My mind raced. Did they really think my ideas were silly? I fought with myself to stay focused, but the pressure was unbearable. It felt like I was standing alone on a cliff, and the world around me was slipping away. Finally, I reached my breaking point. "It's not silly," I shouted, my voice surprising even me. "I believe it will help us grow." Silence filled the room, thick and heavy. My heart was pounding, and suddenly, my knee-jerk reaction felt liberating and terrifying at the same time. Lisa's eyes widened with shock, but then her smirk returned. "You should be careful. You want to ruin your career?" she said. Those words cut deep and brought back waves of self-doubt. In that moment, I felt like I was standing at a crossroads. I could either shrink back into my old fears or embrace this moment and fight for what I believed in. The tension in the room cracked like ice beneath my feet. I could not back down now. For the first time, I felt a flicker of anger mixed with determination. This was my moment to face Lisa, to reject her power over me. "I want to give my ideas a chance," I said louder, my voice stronger this time. "I am tired of being afraid." The room was quiet, and I realized that everyone was watching. I could see curiosity on their faces. This feeling of vulnerability transformed into something stronger. I was no longer just fighting for my ideas, I was fighting for myself. I turned to my boss, searching for support. "Can we get feedback? I want to hear what others think," I said. It felt like a leap into the unknown. Regardless of the outcome, I wanted to stand tall, and not let fear control me anymore. The tension swirled around us, thick with uncertainty, but I decided to embrace it. I could feel my heart beating with a mix of hope and fear. I was ready to face the consequences of my actions. I knew that this moment could change everything for me. I was ready to forge my path. Through the rough waters of emotions and doubts, I saw a glimmer of possibility. My journey of self-discovery had begun, and at that very moment, I understood that I was no longer willing to let my confidence be crushed. I was ready to rise above the pain, even amidst uncertainty. The moment I stood up for myself, I felt a rush of emotions flood through me. But that rush quickly faded as reality set in. The silence in the room became an almost suffocating weight. I could see my boss's surprised face, and Lisa's eyes narrowed with displeasure. The atmosphere shifted, turning from tension to sharp discomfort. My heart raced as I realized I had crossed a line, and I started to worry about what might follow. The moment passed, but the consequences were immediate. My boss cleared her throat and looked uncomfortable. "Bennett, I understand you have ideas," she said slowly, "but there are ways to express them without attacking a coworker." Hearing her words felt like a punch in the gut. I hadn't meant to attack anyone. I only wanted to speak out. I opened my mouth to explain, but no words came. My voice felt trapped inside me. I could see Lisa smile smugly, sensing the shift in power. It felt as if she was proud of my misstep, another way for her to dominate the room. The shame washed over me like cold water, and I wanted to disappear. I felt small and insignificant, the bravado I had felt moments before slipping away. My boss continued, "We value teamwork, and that means respecting each other." I nodded, but inside, I was crumbling. The weight of failure pressed down on my chest. I could feel my confidence shattering like glass. I regretted speaking out, wishing I could take my words back. Why did I challenge her? Why didn't I keep quiet? As my boss moved on to the next item on the agenda, I found it hard to focus on anything else. My mind raced with thoughts of what might come next. Would I lose my chance at a promotion? Would my teammates think less of me? Each possibility felt like a knife, cutting deeper into my heart. Anxiety surged in me, tightening my stomach into knots. I could no longer concentrate, and my hands trembled as I took notes. When I left the meeting, I felt like I was floating. The hallway was a blur, and my mind kept replaying the moment over and over. I wanted to escape. My legs felt heavy like I was walking through mud. It was hard to breathe as the fear sank into me. In the quiet of my office, I sat down at my desk and put my head in my hands. I felt alone and overwhelmed. I had wanted to stand up, but now it seemed like I had only created more problems. My inner voice yelled, "You need to quit!" But I knew running away wouldn't solve the issue. I had to deal with this moment, even if it felt unbearable. Regret washed over me like waves crashing against rocks, relentless and fierce. I questioned my decision to speak up. Was it just foolishness? Part of me wanted to curl up and hide. I felt guilty for creating a scene, especially for my boss. I wanted to make a good impression, not an enemy. Still, another part reminded me that I had chosen to stand up for my ideas. But as I battled these feelings, it was hard to see it that way. All I could feel was the heavy burden of what I might have lost. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, trying to gather the pieces of my shattered courage. What next? What did I need to do now? This was my lowest moment. I needed to find a way through this pain and hope that the darkest storm would eventually fade. It was hard to believe it then, but I knew I had to face whatever came next. It was time to figure out how to rebuild my confidence and stand strong again. Sitting at my desk, I felt lost and alone. The heaviness in my chest reminded me of the awful meeting. Doubts swirled in my mind, whispering that I was not good enough. Just then, Mia walked by and stopped, noticing my distressed face. "Hey, Bennett, are you okay?" she asked with genuine concern. I sighed and leaned back in my chair, feeling tears threaten to spill. I debated with myself about whether to share my feelings. I messed up, Mia, I admitted finally. I lost my cool in the meeting. I shouldn't have shouted. Now, I feel like I am in big trouble. As I spoke, my emotions spilled out like a flood. Everyone makes mistakes, she replied softly. But standing up for yourself is not a bad thing. Her words struck me. I suddenly remembered why I had spoken up in the first place. It was not just about my ideas. It was about my right to be heard. I had values I believed in. The realization hit me like a wave washing over my fears. But it didn't go well, I said, my heart still heavy. What if my boss thinks I can't handle pressure? I looked down at my trembling hands, feeling vulnerable. I had fears, real and big, but I also had thoughts that could change everything. What about how you felt when you spoke up? Mia encouraged me to think. You wanted to show what you could do, and that's brave. You should feel proud, Bennett. I considered her words. I didn't feel proud, but maybe I could start. Maybe it was okay to be imperfect. As we talked, I thought back to my passion for the project. This was my chance to thrive and share my creativity. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. For the first time that day, I felt a shift inside me. I realized that this moment didn't define who I was. My journey was still ahead of me, and the road may not always be easy. I know I can improve, I said, a spark of hope igniting within me. I can learn from this mistake. I don't have to be perfect. Mia smiled, and I could see the warmth in her eyes. Her support eased the knot of anxiety in my stomach. I could press on and transform this moment into a stepping stone. With each moment of reflection, I felt the heaviness lift, replaced by a new determination. I could plan for the future, learn from my experience, and return stronger for it. There was power in accepting my imperfections while striving to grow. Perhaps standing up isn't just about being right. It's also about showing up for myself, no matter the outcome. I am ready to talk to my boss, I said, a newfound confidence filling me. I'll tell her how I felt. I'll explain my ideas clearly next time. I felt ready to face my fear head on. This was my opportunity to reclaim my voice and show my true self. Mia nodded supportively. Yes, that's the spirit, Bennett. You have something important to share. I smiled for the first time that day, feeling warmth in my heart. I was ready for what was to come. No matter what happened, I had potential within me, and I was not afraid to chase it any longer. Things would change, moving forward. I felt stronger, ready for a new day and a new start. This was not the end. It was just the beginning, falling action. The next day, I felt nervous as I arrived at the office. My heart raced with each step. I knew I had to talk to my boss about what happened in the meeting. I replayed every moment in my mind, from the moment I spoke up to how I felt afterward. I realized that feeling scared was normal, but it would not stop me from taking action. Mia had given me the confidence to be open about my feelings and ideas. I needed to remind myself that speaking up was a sign of strength, not weakness. As I sat at my desk, I took a deep breath and closed my eyes. It was time to focus, to think positively about what I wanted to say. I felt the butterflies in my stomach begin to settle. After preparing myself for what felt like hours, I plucked up the courage to approach my boss. I walked into her office, my heart beating loudly. Can I talk to you for a minute? I asked, trying to sound calm. She looked up and nodded, a hint of concern in her eyes. Of course, Bennett. Please sit. As I sat down, all my feelings rushed back. I wanted to say sorry for what happened in the meeting. I didn't intend to be rude. I began, trying to keep my voice steady. I really care about my ideas and want the team to succeed. I know the way I spoke could be improved. My boss listened closely, and I noticed her expression softened. Thank you for coming to speak to me, she said. I appreciate your honesty. Those words felt like a warm ray of sun on a cloudy day. I thought about how strong it made me feel to take this step. Maybe I was growing after all. I went on, explaining my excitement for the project and how I believed in my ideas. My voice grew stronger with each word. I could feel myself shifting from a place of fear to a place of confidence. My boss nodded, understanding where I was coming from. Your passion is clear, Bennett. We all have moments when we feel lost. What matters is how we move forward. In that moment, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I wasn't just talking, I was creating a connection. We discussed my presentation and went over each idea. I noticed my thoughts were clearer. The fear I had felt earlier transformed into motivation. My determination rose from deep within. After the meeting, I returned to my desk feeling lighter, eager, and ready for what was next. I knew I still had much to learn, but I felt more in control than ever. I started to embrace challenges as chances to grow. A new attitude began to settle in my mind. I wanted to be proactive, to take strides with my work rather than to hide away in fear. Each small step forward reminded me that I had the strength to push through. My self-belief started to bloom, replacing the doubt I had carried for so long. I began to visualize a future where my ideas would be accepted and valued, not just tolerated. I was excited about the chance to create positive change. With each passing day, I learned a little more about myself and my goals. I discovered that self-reflection really could inspire change. I felt hopeful and determined, ready to face whatever challenges came my way. I was finally stepping onto my path, reclaiming the promise of becoming the professional I had always dreamed to be. After my conversation with my boss, I felt a surge of energy. I knew things could shift for me, but I also understood that change needed action. I began to set boundaries for myself and to recognize what I would no longer accept at work. The days that followed were both exciting and challenging, but I felt a new strength growing inside me. One afternoon, as I was working on my project, I noticed Lisa making snide comments about my work to another coworker. "Do you really think Bennett's ideas are good?" she sneered, her voice loud enough for me to hear. I felt anger rise within me, and my heart raced. In the past, I might have turned away or stayed silent, but not anymore. I took a deep breath and approached her. "Lisa, I can hear what you are saying. If you have a problem with my ideas, please discuss it with me directly," I stated firmly but calmly. The shock on her face was clear. For a moment, she looked uncertain, as if my words had taken her by surprise. I was finally standing up for myself, refusing to let her negativity cloud my confidence. The conversation set the tone for a shift in our interactions. I could feel a change in the way Lisa treated me after that day. There were fewer glaring stares and more grudging respect. Some people in the office began to notice the shift as well. A few coworkers even approached me, saying they admired how I stood up for myself. Their kind words fueled my resolve. I spoke candidly with other friends in the office about what I had faced. Many of them shared similar experiences with Lisa's behavior. "I've been hesitant to speak up too," one of them admitted. Hearing this made me realize how powerful it was to share our experiences. I encouraged them to voice their concerns and suggested we could support one another. Together, we could tackle any negativity that came our way. With this shift in mindset, I also decided to take a more active role in meetings. At each gathering, I spoke with more confidence. I began to share my ideas early and openly. Whenever Lisa attempted to cut me off, I would calmly remind her, "Please let me finish my thought. It is important to me." Her face would often flush with annoyance, but I stood my ground. I could feel the respect I had gained from my boss and other teammates empowering me. However, not all reactions were positive. A few coworkers remained skeptical. They wondered why I spoke up. Some thought a change would make work harder. But I refused to be discouraged. With time and persistence, I felt increasingly supported by my team. I realized that maintaining healthy boundaries was only one part of my journey to reclaim my space and confidence. I also began to care for my mental health. I started journaling my thoughts and feelings. Writing became an essential tool for me, helping me to process my experiences each day. When emotions boiled inside, I learned to express them on paper before they took over my mind. This practice brought me peace. It was empowering to take control of my thoughts. Months passed, and as I looked around the office, the shift became apparent. More people were speaking up, leading to better discussions rather than arguments. My colleagues began to advocate for themselves too, creating an environment where collaboration thrived. I saw that facing challenges and setting boundaries brought positive change, not just for me but for everyone. I felt proud of the progress, even when moments of uncertainty returned. With each stride, I discovered my voice, my purpose, and the power of standing up. I knew now that I had what it took to carve out my place. The path ahead remained uncertain, but I was determined to stay true to myself and to continue growing within my career and relationships. As the weeks went by, I began to feel a sense of belonging in the office. More and more, I noticed that I was able to express myself clearly. This made a big difference in how I felt about my work and my relationships with my colleagues. I even felt a new wave of excitement when I began a new marketing project with a small team. We were tasked with launching a campaign for a local event. It was a fantastic opportunity to showcase my ideas. I dove into the project with new determination. As the team gathered to brainstorm, I made sure to share my thoughts. I believe we should focus on social media to reach more people, I suggested boldly. My coworkers listened, and my heart soared as they nodded in agreement and started adding their own ideas. We began to work well together, combining our strengths to create something wonderful. During one of our meetings, Lisa entered the room unexpectedly, bringing with her the same air of skepticism, but instead of backing down, I held my ground. We have some great ideas to share, and they can help attract more guests, I said before she could interrupt. To my surprise, one of my coworkers, Daniel, chimed in. I think it is a great plan too. Let's give Bennett a chance to explain. At that moment, I felt a rush of gratitude. My heart swelled knowing that someone was standing up for me, and I realized the power of teamwork was growing. The atmosphere became more supportive, and I felt free to add my thoughts. No longer did I fear being pushed aside. Together, we polished our ideas, and suddenly the weight of negativity seemed to disappear. The project turned into a journey of creativity and collaboration rather than a struggle of competition. As we discussed our vision, I noticed smiles and excitement in the room, which reignited my passion for this work. As we worked on finalizing the presentation, I grew more confident with every passing day. With Daniel's support, I realized I could count on my colleagues for help. Their encouragement lifted my spirits, and I felt more relaxed as we prepared for the big meeting. It was refreshing to experience this shift because I understood clearly I was no longer alone in facing obstacles. Finally, the day of the presentation arrived. Together, we stood in front of our boss and other team members, ready to share our ideas. I felt a mix of pressure and excitement, but this time I embraced it. I began our presentation, explaining our creative strategy with ease. My heart raced, but I took each word as a step forward, confident in the knowledge that my ideas had value. As I spoke, I saw my boss nodding along. It felt amazing to have her support. At the end of the presentation, I listened intently as my colleagues expressed their thoughts. Each member had a chance to shine, and no one dismissed our work. When our boss praised our efforts, I couldn't believe how validated I felt. This is a fantastic plan, and I appreciate everyone's hard work, she said genuinely. That moment solidified my growth. I knew I was beginning to create the workplace I wanted, one where each voice mattered. The compliments flowed, and I felt truly proud of what we had accomplished together. That small win was not just about a successful presentation. It was the realization that I could thrive in my professional environment. I could set boundaries and know when to stand tall. As I left the meeting, I walked out with a newfound sense of purpose. I understood that teamwork was key to success, and that I had a supportive circle around me. From that moment on, I promised myself I would continue to nurture these healthy relationships and celebrate my own progress. I looked forward to all the opportunities ahead and couldn't wait to face them head-on with the courage I had discovered within myself. Resolution. As the weeks passed, I felt a tremendous sense of change within me and at work. The project we launched was a success, and it brought a new energy to the office. I had learned to communicate my ideas clearly and stand up for my beliefs. I had once felt so fearful, but now I felt empowered and excited about my contributions. Yet, even with this growth, I knew that I needed to evaluate my place in the company. One sunny afternoon, as I sat with Mia in our favorite cafe, I opened up to her. "I have been thinking a lot about my future," I admitted. "I enjoy creating ideas and projects, but sometimes I feel pushed down by our environment." My thoughts spilled out, needing to take form. "I want a workplace that supports and values me, not one full of fear." Mia took a sip of her coffee and nodded. "That makes sense, Bennett. You have grown so much. You deserve to be in a place where you feel appreciated." Her words wrapped around me like a warm blanket, igniting a realization. I had deserved more than just survival at work. I wanted to thrive. In that moment, I made a decision. I would talk to my boss about setting clear boundaries, both for myself and for others. It was not simply about Lisa or toxic behavior. It was about fostering a healthy environment for everyone on the team. I wanted to create a culture where we could share ideas without fear and celebrate our successes. I approached my boss the next week, taking a deep breath before stepping into her office. "I would like to discuss how we can strengthen our team's support for one another," I began, feeling a rush of nerves. As I spoke, I noticed how much clearer my thoughts were. "I believe we should develop guidelines that encourage constructive feedback instead of criticism. Everyone should feel safe voicing their thoughts." My boss listened, and I saw respect in her eyes. "That is a great idea, Bennett. Creating a supportive environment is essential for progress," she replied. We talked about strategies for fostering a team culture that emphasized respect and open dialogue. I felt relieved. Voicing my thoughts had been a significant step forward. With her support, we started a series of team meetings focused on strengthening our group dynamics. I took on a leadership role, sharing my experiences and the importance of positive communication. It felt incredible to see my colleagues starting to share their ideas freely and encourage one another. I realized that change takes time, but I felt proud to be part of this journey. Beyond work, I also began exploring long-term goals for my career. I wanted to continue growing, perhaps taking a few courses to advance my skills. With my newfound confidence, I felt ready to take steps toward becoming a marketing expert. As I considered my future, I focused on building relationships and developing the skills I needed to chase my dreams. Every day, I reminded myself of the strength I had discovered within. The experience at work had taught me about resilience and the importance of standing my ground. I began to believe that I had the power to shape my reality, not only for myself but for others as well. Looking ahead, I felt hopeful and excited. Each challenge became an opportunity for growth, and I viewed them through a lens of positivity. I knew that I could transform my emotions and create a workplace where ideas could flourish. What truly mattered was that I was no longer defined by my fears or by workplace toxicity. I felt empowered to create the career and environment I envisioned, one where everyone could succeed together. I had taken control, and it felt wonderful. As I reflected on my journey, I realized how much I had grown. I had begun to see work not just as a place of pressure, but as an opportunity to learn, connect, and celebrate. I had developed healthier ways to face challenges, and I was proud of that. With the support of my team, we created an environment where everyone felt safe to share their ideas. It felt great to be part of a team that valued open discussion rather than conflict. As we continued to build our new culture, our projects became more successful. Not only did we celebrate small victories, but we also supported each other during setbacks. I felt a sense of belonging in the office that I had never truly experienced before. This change inspired me to think about my future. I wanted to invest in my growth, and I began exploring resources that could help me expand my skills. I started taking online courses in marketing. Each class opened my eyes to new strategies and creative ways to connect with customers. I learned how to analyze data, create marketing plans, and understand consumer behavior. My knowledge grew, and I felt excited about applying everything I learned to our projects. With every new skill, my confidence blossomed even more. During one of our team meetings, I suggested we put together a presentation for a major marketing conference coming up in 3 months. "I think this could be a great opportunity for us to showcase what we've learned," I said enthusiastically. My teammates smiled and nodded, matching my excitement. They recognized the value in sharing our success stories, and together we planned how to make this the best presentation possible. As the date of the conference approached, the energy in our office increased. Each member of our team brought their unique strengths to the table, and I could see the camaraderie grow deeper. We practiced our presentation together, ensuring everyone felt comfortable and confident. Watching each of my colleagues shine made me feel proud, and I knew we were building something great. When the day of the conference finally arrived, I felt exhilarated. Standing at the front of the room, I shared our journey about creating a more supportive team culture. I watched as the audience engaged with our story, reflecting the importance of communication and teamwork. As I walked off the stage, I felt a rush of accomplishment. I was no longer just Bennett, the fearful worker. I had become a confident contributor and leader. Looking towards the future, I envisioned endless possibilities. I kept thinking about long-term goals, whether in this job or elsewhere. I knew that if I continued to foster this environment, I could reach even greater heights. My mindset had shifted, and my fears now transformed into fuel for my ambitions. Remembering that I am capable of confronting obstacles felt empowering. I promised myself I would continue to grow, learn, and inspire those around me. If I could navigate my challenges and overcome fears at work, I could embrace any future in the same spirit. Each day would be an opportunity to build connections and create a more positive world. No matter what came next, I would approach it with confidence and courage. I felt ready for whatever the future held. My journey had taught me that true growth comes from facing fears and building supportive relationships. I was excited to walk down this path with newfound strength and determination. The journey was only beginning, and with each step, I would carve out a brighter future for myself and those around me.